Hello everyone, my name is Niamh Ockley. Let's introduce today our special guest, the lovely Eunika, who is the co-founder of the Yuser app. It's a social media app.
Hi, Niamh. It's super nice to be here. I'm really glad that I was able to join you today to do this interview. You've been obviously on our app and super active user, and you called yourself our influencer. So I'm super excited to talk to you and find out what you are up to and answer all your questions that you might have about Yuser.
100%. It's such a new area right now, NFTs.
Who came up for the idea for Yuser? So Tom and I, we were working together at his previous company, which used to be called PMF Entertainment. And we were basically, the easiest way to describe it, the company was kind of like BuzzFeed. We were basically creating like viral articles, except they were like specifically focused on nerd culture. And then we used to sell advertising on that website, just with a bunch of listicles and like funny content and stuff like that. So the way to do it back then, it was like 2016, 2017, was that you basically push all these viral listicles through Facebook, right? So that's what we used to do, and we used to get like millions and millions of hits on that website, except that things started going downhill really, really fast, and we couldn't figure out why. And for us, it was like a key time that we got into it at the tail end of where Facebook would actually allow this kind of traffic sharing on their platform. And then we saw the traffic go downhill, and all the influencers were like, I'm getting banned, there's things that are not going through, like I don't understand what's happening. So we were kind of monitoring all that, and we're like, okay, so Facebook is making changes and they're purposefully disallowing influencers from sharing articles on their platform. That's what's going to happen. They're going to basically ban this. And we said that, and we decided to pivot. We decided to do something else, because we were like, you can't just use a platform this way and be used to it, and not one day and then another day it's just gone. It's just not the case, because Facebook has entire control of the entire platform, right? And people, like a lot of companies had a good run through selling advertising via Facebook and doing all that, but it's not sustainable. It's not something that can last forever. And sure enough, I think it was January 2018 that Facebook actually disallowed publishers from sharing articles via influencers on the platform. They basically said that nobody can share anything on Facebook that they didn't have hand in creating, and take money for it, basically. So we had influencers that were like 10, 15 million followers on Facebook. We could get so many views on excuse me, on our articles, and all of a sudden that's all gone, right? So we kind of got out of it before that happened, like a couple of months before, because we said, you know what, this is not sustainable. We want a platform that's built for creators, because there is no platform built for creators right now. All the platforms are built for companies that create those companies to profit and basically create an app that's addictive and sticky. But at the end of the day, it's not really benefiting you as a creator, because the company can make a bunch of changes that are not taking into account what creators on this platform really want, right? So that's kind of where the idea for Yuser came from. It came from, we are creators. Like, I'm a writer. I went to UCD actually, and I studied creative writing. I have a master's from UCD. I've written a novel. I do all sorts of other like creative projects. Tom is a synth musician. He's also like a mixed media artist. He does a lot of different stuff. He's actually doing UX design and UI stuff for Yuser. So we are creative people, and we have a lot of experience with just being not allowed to do what we need to do as creative people, right? So we thought that this kind of platform would resonate with artists and creators who want a little bit more freedom, and they want to be able to monetize right off the get-go, right? Because there is a whole culture out there of like, if you are a big enough influencer, then sure enough you can monetize. But if you're just starting out and you're putting things out there and you're creating massive volumes of content, if you don't have a following yet, it's extremely difficult for you to do that. So that was back in 2018, and we said, no, this is not supposed to work like this. And we were super into blockchain, cryptocurrency, all that stuff, and we said, why not do that? Why not create an app? And our first ideas was, decentralization, cryptocurrency, decentralized finance. Yes, amazing, right? And then we were like kicked in the butt by the fact that you can't do the things that we wanted to do with blockchain the way it was back then. And even now, it's still extremely difficult. So we basically decided to build this app as like a bridge between what's currently being in use, like the Instagrams and TikToks and all these apps that people understand and they know how to interact with, and an app that would include all these, cryptocurrency blockchain integrations and actually benefit people who are on that app. So that was the idea, and that was kind of the driving force behind creating User.
Wow, you just blew my mind already.
I'm trying. my first time on YouTube. Hi, YouTube.
Is it actually? Oh.
Yeah. I have. I used to speak at conferences a lot, so I would go like blockchain conferences before COVID, before all that happened, right? But I've never done like I've done interviews that were posted online, but nothing for YouTube.
Wow, and you're the first woman that I'm interviewing, so woo!
Yes,
that deserves a celebration for women.
I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm the only woman that actually is in this space. So.
There's not a lot. There's definitely not a lot.
No,
it's very difficult to find, and that's one thing that you spoke about the setbacks and drawbacks that you've noticed from other social media apps, and obviously with a new app, there's like constant development. There's going to be constant changes, new features being rolled out, and I've noticed that a lot in terms of finding other people. There's no filter for. To find people for all these new apps. So it's a struggle. It's definitely like very time it's not very time efficient trying to look for a certain criteria of people right now, because it's such a small niche, the NFT space.
You know what? It's so funny because we're in it so much that for us it's huge. But if you like, last time I checked the stats, I think the adoption of cryptocurrency was only something like 6% in the US. It's really small. So this space is growing. I think like 3 years ago, it was something like 2-3%. So it is growing at a steady pace. But just to think that only about 6% of people, in the US have actually purchased cryptocurrency. Like that's crazy. Like I feel like this is everybody been talking about this, and like why? So in my opinion, and that's exactly, where we came from, is the usability. Like you have to make sure that something is easy to use. Like right now, blockchain cryptocurrencies, they're pretty much within sort of the 90s of the era of the internet, right? Like it's so early. And being able to easily use something in your day-to-day, it's very important. Right now, we all have phones. They're so easy to use. You can just like download another app, you can pay with a tap, you can do all sorts of stuff like that. So going back and saying to people, no, now you have to do 50 different steps to log into your MetaMask, to do this, remember your private keys and do that, and then you have to connect it to another wallet, and then you need this address, and then you need another token that's added. Exactly, right? So what we wanted to do is an app that's easy to use, and this is why we're trying still to do things like eliminate gas costs and make sure that we can do our own wallets and things like this that are perhaps not optimal when you think about using your resources right off the get-go, because we have very limited resources, right? But at the same time, we think that those things are very important for the community, because we have to be able to put in a UI in front of people that's actually intuitive and easy to use, right? So we'll see where it goes.
Yes. Oh no, I have no doubt. I mean, I'm already such an active user of User. Has anyone said that before?
Yeah, people get mad. They're just like user of like why, and we're like, I don't know, that's kind of the name we came up with. So
I love it.
The idea behind it was that it's because why, it's like you, so it's for you, user, right? So it's you're the user of the app, but it's also for you. So that was like,
it makes sense. Yeah. Oh, no, I love it.
Hopefully makes some sort of sense to someone. One thing that happened within the last, couple months, especially since we got really deeply into the NFT community specifically, was that our growth is staggering. We've had a lot of people sign up, and we're super happy about that. And I think it's because NFT community it's looking for something, and something that's hasn't like they haven't discovered yet. And I think it's because right now when you look at what are apps that are actually being used mostly for communicating about NFTs, it's Twitter, and it's what else? Clubhouse, Discord. um, None of these are actually visual apps. Like none of these apps have any means really specifically designed to display like art, right? So there's a whole bunch of new startups that are popping up that are trying to fill these gaps in various different forms. But it's so interesting to me that this community is in the apps that are popular, that have are able to provide that exposure, but are not actually apps for visual content. And for me, the reason for that is because the number one app that pops into everybody's mind when it comes to something like NFT content is Instagram. And Instagram's discovery just doesn't work. If you are a popular person on the app already, if you have a following somewhere else and you want to bring it into Instagram, you can do that. But just using Instagram by itself to grow, it's not possible. Like there were particular decisions in the company that were made to ensure that that was the case. That if you wanted to grow from scratch only on Instagram, you would have to pay your way through that process. And this is why, Twitter still, you can get discovered fairly easily. Discord is a whole other world. And obviously Clubhouse, the new kids on the block that have blown up so immensely. And I think that the reason for that is just because their timing was impeccable, coming onto the market and during the time when, people can't chat to each other. And then on top of that, everybody's so sick of seeing each other over Zoom. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, we should have done this another way.
No. This is perfectly fine. But you know what I mean? 8 hours of Zoom meetings in a day. Please, let us stop. Let us all go back to offices and stuff. I don't know how you guys are in Ireland. Are you allowed back into your offices?
Most people are working from home right now. I've been working from home the past 2.5, probably 3 years now. I was working from home before COVID started, but it's open. Everywhere is open. We just have to sit outside in restaurants, and Ireland isn't the most predictable weather-wise, so you have to sit out with your pint in the lashings of rain at the moment.
They should have a little specific umbrellas, to cover your drink, not the ones that are the tropical ones, but actual.
Just a little umbrella for your drink, not for you.
But and also, as I announced in Discord yesterday, or tried to, we are working on the user avatar project, which is going to actually be basically user NFTs, right? So I want to make sure that we focus on this and that we execute it properly. So we can talk a little bit about this project if you want, because I feel like it's super exciting thing for everyone. So there is a lot of those collectible kind of generative projects out there. There's obviously the CryptoPunks, CryptoKitties, there's Bored Apes and all those other ones. And for a while now we thought, why not create a user avatar, something that could be useful within the app itself, but it could also be a generative NFT. So right now what we're going to do is that we're working with one artist on coming up with kind of a style guide, something that we can share with everybody who's a user who would wish to participate. And people can just draw up their own submissions for various different elements. And I think it's going to be super fun, because basically the idea is that people can come up with different traits, and then from those traits we can select a bunch that actually play well together, and then we can allow, you know, artists from User to have pieces of their artwork featured within this generative collectible, right? So that's the idea behind it. And you know, we plan, we don't have everything sorted out yet. It's going to be a process, obviously, because it's a collaboration, right? So trying to figure out like how we're going to do these things. We're learning new things every single day, but we're thinking about, you know, 10,000 generative pieces. Yeah, that would be going up for sale, and they would be going up for sale strictly through User, because that's another part. So we actually very soon, within the next 2 weeks, are launching a web app that will connect to MetaMask.
Wow, yes.
Yes, and yes, and the idea is basically, you know, giving artists more freedom in trying to sell their works as NFTs and being able to sell them through User, not just via OpenSea, right?
Wow. And yeah, I've seen this already. So you're slowly progressing, say that you pick the artist. Obviously you want someone that's active in the app 100%. You don't search for someone that's necessarily like popular in the NFT space and attack them and try and cold call them. You do it in a very natural approach to whoever is already interested in. So I really like that. It's not like an influencer affiliate scheme that a lot of apps, they would probably go that route. So you're definitely going the more moral route as well, I would say. Yeah.
You know what? I think the app has always been created with artists in mind. We have amazing artists such as yourself and others on the app already. And, you know, we want to make sure that people who are participating and already within our community, they're properly represented and they actually are having fun and they're getting something out of the use of the app, right? So that's kind of like our first step. That being said, obviously, working with big influencers is, you know, part of the roadmap, but in various different ways, because we have to also make sure that we grow, right? So the grassroots approach is great, but at some point we feel like we want to, you know, exceed the growth. Like we want to make sure that it's faster. So at that point we also want to bring in, you know, bigger people, and we feel like that will also benefit the artists who have been on the app since early days immensely, because, you know, once the app starts growing a lot, it's going to be very beneficial for everybody who has been the early adopter of User, right?
100%. And I do like the way it's almost like a game in itself. When you view a profile, you see what level they're on. I really like that. I definitely want to like I definitely want to see that there forever, no matter how big User gets. And I have no doubt it will grow to be one of the biggest social media apps in this space. But
thank you, I hope so.
no doubt, like I would put my money on it. I really like the level because, as you said, that if there is like an influencer, so say if we get Gabe, you know, Gabe, he's a cubist. Say if he was on it, I know he's kind of one of the biggest that I know, that I do really like his work. If he was on it, I know it would be like a ripple effect. Then all of his followers would do the same and so on. But he's still only going to be on level 1. So everyone else you're going to be able to see. I know on some other social media apps you can see how many posts that they have, and that's all. You already have a step up in that space, because the NFT space, I do see it as a game as well. It's I remember when I first heard about NFTs, it was through Gary V, and he said the best way to explain an NFT is, have you ever played a video game before? And he says, and quote, it's the exact same as buying like a background for a map. It's not a real thing, but you believe in that world, to like it interests you, you believe in it, so you're going to buy that background or you're going to buy that map to increase your growth in that virtual world. So that's the best way that I could actually hear it, and the best way that made me want to go, okay, I really want to do this, you know. I like video games, why wouldn't I love this? And it's so much more addictive as well, but in a good way, because you said with User that the app, it has the creators in mind first. You can really see that with everyone being so active, and you can message within the platform. Like it's really after progressing for such a new app. How many months or years is it in the works now?
So we launched this app as a beta like late 2018. So it's been around for a while, right? At the same time, we went through various different iterations of the app and how it was supposed to work. And there was a whole bunch of changes that we made to how the app works. So the app was very, very different in the beginning. And as I said, we've been able to secure a bunch of funding to keep the development going, but we haven't spent like any money on marketing. All our marketing was basically word of mouth and trying to get partnerships with other companies. So we had a really good partnership with one company that was actually events company. And it was amazing. We were going to be all over like different music festivals all over Canada. And it was like we had a whole marketing strategy that was supposed to roll out last year. And then COVID happened. And like events, right? The first thing that was gonna go. So like there's a whole bunch of stuff that people don't know about Yuser. Like there's full event functionality in the app. Like we have it. So and this was actually some of the stuff that we were working with NFTs in the early days. It was related to this as well. I can't speak about it too much because we might want to release it in some shape or form at some point when things are maybe back to normal. I don't know, but at the same time, there were very different strategies that we had back then for growth, right? And when COVID happened, we had to rethink how we were going to operate and how we were going to grow the app. So we're still very much focused on creators, but we have to enter the digital space hard. Like that's the only way for us to grow, and this is what we focused on. And I think it's paying off, especially I think because this place, the NFT space skyrocketed over the last 6 months or so. It went crazy, right? So I think there's still so much to do and there's so much to grow into. I like the comparison between the NFTs and the video game, but for me the biggest difference, and this is why I like it so much, is because video games, people know that there's a company that creates all these additional stuff for video games. The company releases like extra armors or extra this, or you have things like Fortnite and you can buy a whole bunch of V-Bucks and other stuff. Whereas here it's the community who's doing this stuff, who's making things that are selling. So it's like this community effort in growing the art space, and just trying to find your niche within that space, right? So it's not really inherently closed off to everybody, because it's not just one company doing this. That's where the decentralization behind cryptocurrencies and comes in. It's just like everybody can all of a sudden participate, and isn't it fun, right? I think it is.
So fun. As I said, it's addictive. Every single day I have to use the app because I want to see what other artists are involved in the competition. So I think the competition is a really good incentive for people to why they should download the app, and also to collect gems. I think to me that relates 100% to a video game as well as the level. So it's brilliant. And do you plan on releasing different competitions, or do you think you'll continue with the same competition that you have now?
So we can do whatever we want, really. Like we used to just run like the hashtag contests for just gems. So the gems used to be a prize, but the reason why we decided to start running it for Ethereum, so that artists that sign up can win Ethereum specifically, is because we are aware of gas costs, and we know that artists have to upfront put in money in order to be able to mint a piece and then sell it. So it's not really a zero cost thing. Like you have to be confident in what you're putting out there, because you can lose a bunch of money instead of actually get money, right? So the idea behind doing the hashtag contest and making sure that people were winning a little bit of Ethereum every week is is this to offset some of the costs that you as an artist have to incur in order to be able to participate in the NFT space. And this is why we kind of stuck to this like my next NFT challenge. So then everybody's free to share whatever they're working on, and it's just the community that's voting with their gems on the winner, right? But absolutely, we've discussed like various different topics and different prizes and various things that we can still do with this. We are going to eliminate gas costs. That's in our roadmap. So actually, something that that's another thing that we will be announcing soon. So currently we integrate with OpenSea, so that's obviously Ethereum. We are integrating Ethereum wallet, MetaMask, but we're also going to be moving on to another blockchain, which is called Polkadot. So we're going to be integrating with Polkadot via Moonbeam and deploying on Kusama. So this is within our roadmap, and on Kusama we can eliminate gas costs. So that's going to be something that's very important for us, because we want to make sure that artists can meet the piece at minimum to no cost.
Wow. So like it's not even just the app, as in the reason why you're helping creators. First off, like you have so many different elements to it as well in the future that you're going to grow to, and every single little thing that you update, all of these features are furthering to help creators with, especially new creators. I mean, straight away a new creator should be like, you should be doing a lot of research. You should be having a look at what other NFT artists are doing before you should mint your very first. And definitely your app would 100% help to advertise the creator 100%. I think even collectors, it's actually really useful for collectors, maybe even more so than artists, because they can easily access different types of work, and you can obviously follow different people. And I find it really interesting that you can even select gems for comments. I wouldn't have thought to do the comments as well as the post. What was the reason behind the comments as well?
So that kind of goes back to a lot of different functionalities that we had within the app when we first launched. So I actually wrote a full article about it that recently came out on my LinkedIn. It is part of our original white paper. So what we've been talking about since the start is that there's various different types of behavior on social networks, right? So there's a content creator, which is obvious, somebody who puts in content and wants to engage with people around their content. There's people who are more sort of into a discussion, so they're into the discussion element. So we see apps like Clubhouse, for example, where that's all there is. You just participate in conversation with everybody, and that is a very important piece as well, right? And then there is another part to it, and that is a curation. There is a content, there is a lot of people within the social media space, or even within other spaces, where their entire job is centered around discovering the next big thing and being able to curate that and display this appropriately, right? So these three elements for us were like the tenets of how social networks operate. And we wanted to make sure that all these behaviors are rewarded along the way. So therefore, we let content creators be rewarded by just gifting the gems. Same with people who are participating in discussion. There is a whole piece, where you can comment and you can have a discussion underneath the posts, so the people can get rewarded by getting gems on their comments as well. And then there is a part that's more to do with curation. And there were the early features that were focused on rewarding that type of behavior, but we haven't found them to be super effective. And this is a part that we are still working on. But there's additional kind of rewards and reward elements that are going to be launching in relation to that, because we know that there are people whose their sole intent, purpose, and job, and in fact that's what they're interested in. And maybe that's also the more sort of the collector type, people who want to curate content that's going to sell, content that has huge potential and that's still undiscovered, right? Because that discovery, I think it needs to be up to users of social media apps. It should not be so much up to, you know, algorithms. It's up to you to discover you know, your niche and grow it out. And we want to make sure that we can get these people on the app, keep them engaged, and that they're also getting something out of it, even though it's not so obvious as, you know, just posting a piece of content and getting rewarded for that specific piece of content. It's a little bit of a tricky mechanism because it's a very different type of behavior. But I would equal it to, you know, people create memes. They go and create memes online and they're just live there. And there are people who literally would just, you know, go and get the best memes from the online space. They will hunt them down and they know that they are the funniest ones and they put them together in a listicle and then everybody knows about them. You know what I mean? So that kind of behavior, you don't have to be the one to create this content in order to know that this is going to be really good. But at the same time, we still have to make sure that the original creator of that content is rewarded, right? So various mechanics, gamified mechanics of how we want this to work.
Yeah, gamification. Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit similar to, you know, and that's how we used to think about giving gems to people. And we used to think, we used to equal it to liking, right? Like you can like a comment on other social media platforms as well, except, excuse me, you can't really do anything with likes. So for us, the idea behind creating gems, it was that, you know, it's a collectible that you can use and you can spend, but at the same time, it's as easy to use as a like. So we like to think about it as kind of like introductory cryptocurrency that teaches you a bit about how the space works, but at the same time, it's, you know, easy to use. And yes, you can collect it and then eventually, you know, you can use it for different purchases.
And here's a good question for you. So your son, when he grows up, I know that there's a lot of, it's a lot of different discussions about what age you think that children should first have a mobile phone and access to all these different social media platforms. Would you hope that Yuser would be an app for all ages across the board? In comparison to, say, if you're comparing it to, I don't know, any other social media platform, there can be a lot of negativity. That's kind of the main reason why I wanted to download your app as well. I knew that would be a community building positivity world full of NFT artists, creators, collectors, like-minded people. That's all you really need. Once you have like-minded people, there's going to be no trouble. Everyone is there to help one another. So yeah, how do you compare that? Like, will you let your son use the app? I'm sure you will.
So, you know what, there's a lot to unpack here, because there's things that, you know, we want to do. There's things that we can do. There are laws in the, although we are doing, you know, what is within our power to make sure that user is the most positive experience by setting an example, interacting with people who are positively contributing to the community and, you know, are super excited about this and they just want to have fun and grow and, you know, participate. We know that there are negative behaviors that, you know, pop in with these social media platforms, and we have to be aware of that and we have to be careful. So you know, we have within our terms of service that we basically don't allow any type of content that, you know, features any sort of like racism and abuse or anything like that. And I think one of the important parts is consent, like thinking about consent, especially when you're taking photos. Like, do you have consent from the person that you've been photographing? Especially if you're going to sell that piece through our app, right? So there's various different questions that need to be unpacked here. And, you know, even as being still a fairly small app, we've already had some people posting things that were not okay. And, you know, like content that would not be okay on any app, just because of what I do, about how much bad stuff is online. And I am very weary of that, because I as an adult can navigate this, but for children, it's very easy to get sucked into communities that are just not good for them. And I think that the important part, that was something that Tom actually said the other day. He has a son that's a bit older, he's 9. So he was basically saying to us, I think it's important when they get that age is that you consume all the content with them, that you just don't let children just do whatever and assume that they're going to be okay. And I know of a whole bunch of, different, websites that were supposedly designed for kids that have like very shady morals. Like there are things out there that I just don't even want to talk about because they make me upset as a mother. You know what I mean? So I know that I'm definitely going to be very weird in giving my child a phone when he's very young. Like I understand that this is, this is all this is our reality right now, like computers and programming and all that stuff. And for me, I just want to make sure that he understands how it works. Because like I know how Google algorithms work, how they filter things out, how they push more things that you want to see into your face. So then if my opinions are to start different than your opinions, then we can't even talk to each other anymore because we're basically living in this like algorithm silos. So I understand how these like tactics work, and I know it's not inherently malicious. It's basically done so that you can get fed more content that you actually want to see, right? Except there's various different pitfalls that come from this. So I think educating your kids very early on how technology works, how algorithms are designed, even knowing how to code. Like I think that technology is so far now that we have to make sure that our kids understand how computers work and how apps work, and they know it so that they can see it through that lens and have enough information so that they can go out there and not get sucked into something that's bad. I think that's the most we can do is the education. That's just what I think.
I think what you said as well about Yuser being a stepping stone as a learning education tool as well, I do agree with that. Maybe to learn a bit about maybe the value of how maybe even gas prices go up and down. I know you said that you wanted to be like, you want to be helping the creators with like no gas prices, but yeah, it's interesting that you said like to use it as an educational tool, because that could like even if I go back to gaming can be an educational tool as well. And we set up a movement, a DAO. We set up a DAO called DAO 50. So we are trying to get up to 50 artists. I think currently we have about 20-25 artists. Trying to get 50 artists that have never sold an NFT before. I've left Foundation myself, but that's just my own personal choice. It's not about the movement at all. But the movement, yeah, we're finding people that are on Foundation and kind of proving a point that the platform isn't doing anything for them, that we can actually help, and we have no money. We're getting donations off collectors for a virtual exhibition for on Cyber, and it's 0.55 of an ETH, so it's very expensive to hold the exhibition. They do free exhibitions, free virtual galleries as well, but what we want to do is show all the unsold works. But at the moment I don't think we even have many unsold works, because we're donating, we're basically buying their works, because there's so many of us now that we're all helping each other. And it's brilliant to see, like, it's obviously awful to see so many people that are struggling to, like, it's a new world and it's not easy. It's really not easy starting off as an artist. It's really difficult. It's a bit deceiving, like that if you don't know anyone, like I sold like physical prints, and then going into NFT, you don't have the same audience. You're starting from scratch. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, no, and exactly this is the reason why we wanted to create an app where you can discover art pieces, right? Like you can discover content, and that discovery is easy. And not that I want to do a plug for Yuser, but like that's literally why we wanted to do it, because I feel like, even just give an example of OpenSea. I was very confused in the beginning because there's all these projects in OpenSea and I have no idea how to search it. Like I go in and type a search and there's like a random that comes in at your face. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So I haven't found the discovery piece to be really good through, OpenSea. They basically just feature on their front page whatever is trending, whatever is the biggest, and how are you and then artists that already have ginormous impact. And it's kind of almost the same with foundation right now. Like it's like these giant artists that are featured on the front page, and it's like, okay, I understand that there's a lot of amazing artists that are super high end and they're already making a lot of money, but they're not the ones that need help, at least not that much, right? It's the new people that need help, and it's the new people that are usually the most engaged users. They're the ones that are out there trying to make it every day, not somebody who's just like, who's well known by everybody else, and they just like whatever they put sells in 5 minutes. Like so
they don't need the marketing. It makes no sense. Like they actually don't need the marketing to be on the homepage. It is the new users. 100%, I agree with you, and I think it's so important to share that everyone in the NFT space, because I've seen a few people drop off because of that reason, and I know they'll come back, but I think they need time to kind of gain back their confidence. It's hard once you lose your confidence. If you're putting your work out there and you have it out there for a couple of months, you feel like it will never be sold, but the fact is it will be sold. It's there on the blockchain forever.
So this is how we're thinking about it. Like we decided to start slow, just getting artists from Yuser and rolling pieces slowly out to OpenSea, because we are still a growing community. So we don't want to put so much stuff out there if we know that we can sell it, right? So our marketing power is still limited, but it's growing because of the various different things that we're doing as a company to grow it. And we've already seen a pretty good return on our collection, that a lot of pieces have actually sold. And then we have one person who's running our Twitter, and she's super active, and she's also engaging with artists and collectors, and that is creating additional benefit. But we don't see a benefit of putting the biggest and the best out there. The work is going to sell anyway. We're just trying to make sure that we can help the creators who are on our app, who have been super engaged. And I think you've been talking to Maz as well. I know that, so so your piece is going to be coming soon as well, which is awesome. I think outside of your own page and how you display your pieces, whatever it is that you want to display, this your art, or is it your selfies, or is it your lifestyle stuff, that's basically all you control, right? Like there's nothing else. There's like no moderation things. There's no communities within that space. So that's what I liked about something that's a little bit more kind of like a forum / social space, something like Reddit, is that people can create their own communities within that space, and they can kind of take ownership and establish the rules, right? Because when the app grows, when the community grows, it will very often outgrow the possibility for a lot of people to consume the content that's being put into it, right? So I think that my stats are old, but something like a few years ago, it was only like it was it 70%? 70% of the content that gets posted to Instagram doesn't get seen.
Wow. Yeah, I would agree.
Yes. Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. It's like, because they will put in front of you in your discovery feed content that's already it's gaining momentum, but they won't put a new content in front of your face, right? Like unless you maybe search some hashtag or something like this. So how are you supposed to get discovered as a new person on the platform? Whereas if you have apps that work a little bit differently, and I think Twitter is a good example, Reddit is a good example. I actually really like what I think TikTok, what TikTok is doing, their algorithm is genius. So I like that. Those are the examples that we're looking at. We're looking at what's happening within the social media space, what's new, trying to learn from it, and that's what we're trying to iterate, right? So and the big piece is new people they have to be seen, because if they're not seen, they're going to leave, because they're not going to see the benefit of being on that platform. And if at any point you think that it's not beneficial for you to make sure that new people get seen, you are already on a down, like you're losing.
You're losing, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I have to say about this. And like, we always, yeah. If I had one, I would like, I don't want to take my phone.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to people who sign into your platform and make sure that they're fairly represented, because that's what they're there for, right?
That's so important, what you just said. So important. And most, I think I agree that most platforms don't actually, they might not understand the importance of it right now. And I like there'll be a massive growth of new users then, because there's obviously that economic impact that I see a lot of negativity around, especially on Twitter. Twitter can be a very negative platform. That's why I personally didn't use it, especially towards the start of COVID. It was just COVID. So I didn't use it. I didn't delete it, but I just stayed away from it. So yeah, what do you think with the proof of work to proof of stake now? That obviously that's only going to help, isn't it?
I would hope so. I think that within sort of the NFT community, especially, which is full of artists, there's a big concern about environmental sustainability. So this is something that we, hear, we talk about a lot and we hear a lot. And there's, in fact, already artists that have been, minting in the NFTs through User. There's a lot of people out there that are afraid about what this technology can do and what it can change in our world. And some people are jumping headfirst because they're like, this is the next big thing. I love this. And some people are terrified. So I think it's important not to, judge why people make these comments, but at the same time, just, put your mind in this space where, like, let's help move this forward, so it doesn't actually have to do all these things that are not environmentally sustainable, like mining. So I personally, we've been hearing about Ethereum 2.0 since like 3 years ago, even, like, way back when people were talking about this. Like, it's still kind of, forks are a big deal. Like, they are a big deal, and it's important to make sure that everything works and the community is behind it and all that. So I understand why it's taking so long, and I really hope that it's going to change people's perception of especially Ethereum. That being said, I don't think that like Bitcoin will ever do that. Like, I don't think they will. So there are various different considerations. That being said, there's various different blockchains that are actually not using proof of work at all. So for example, Polkadot, it's purely proof of stake. And this is also part of the reason why we can ensure that the fees are lower, because there's no mining fees. The distribution of rewards is a little bit different, and it's based on stake, right? So I think that it's important not to, like, issue blanket statements and just get scared of this new technology just because there's one thing that it does that's not ideal. I mean, there's all this technology that's out there that it's doing things that are not ideal. And I think the best thing right now is, like, we can't go back to a horse and a cart, and I don't think anybody would want that, right? So we just have to make sure that the new things that come out, we can catch it early and then iterate on it so that the next version is better, hopefully, and it's more beneficial to environment. And I think that if I have my numbers correct, once Ethereum moves to proof of stake, it's going to be like so sustainable that I think it's only like the consumption of resources is going to be like 2% of the entire Visa network or something like that. I don't want to throw these numbers because I don't exactly remember what percentage it was. I just remember reading that stat somewhere. So it's going to be very very environmentally friendly once Ethereum 2.0 rolls out. So I'm hoping it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Neve, for having me.
You were the favorite interview for my YouTube so far. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to interview you when you have 1 million users on Yuser. And I'd say that would be pretty soon. So best.
Oh, you know what? We need that. So please, yes, but also I don't know.
With me as your NFT influencer, it'll happen.
I think we're going to the moon now.
Oh, everyone will use Yuser. Everyone.
Yes, I hope so. And then everybody can just like spend their gems on stuff. I'm so excited about that part.
So if you haven't already heard of Yuser, download Yuser, and it's available on Android and Apple.
And iOS. Yes, yes. And our web app launching soon. So soon it's going to be available to use through the browser, which is awesome. One caveat still is going to, some features might be limited. So if you want to post content, you still have to do it just through the app, but you will be able to integrate your MetaMask and you'll be able to sell your works. Ooh. And it's going to be fantastic. Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait until desktop comes out, because especially for, a lot of Twitter bios, they have the link tree. They have this, they don't want to, you want desktop version if you want to add in your Showtime link and User next to it. So yeah, we're going to see that pretty soon now, where everyone is creating it all. It's very exciting. And I can't believe you developed the app first. I think usually it's the other way around, which is really interesting. I think because mobile users are probably, number one nowadays. Everyone has their phone everywhere they go.
So here's the reason why, and I know that it's easier to develop, for web. It's been around so much longer than app development. The reason why we wanted to have an app is because we wanted to make sure that the things that we need to do, we can do, because there's much more freedom within the app development as well. So there's all these different choices that you can make that you can't make when you just have a website, right? So that's the reason why we started with the app first. And yeah, it is an unpopular decision, but as you see from social networks that have taken off, like
mobile first,
a lot of them were mobile first, right? Like I think that everything is moving towards mobile. Like people are just using their phones. Like for me, my laptop is work,
exactly,
but everything else is on my phone. So we wanted to make sure that people had ease of use, and that meant something that they can have on their phone and that they can use on the fly whenever they want to and wherever they are.